Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Legend of Korra Book 2 Spirits episode commentary. This one's going to be for K211, Night of 1,000 Stars, the 11th episode of Book 2 Spirits. This commentary will start with the opening of the episode, so make sure to have your own version of the episode ready to go, including the opening that obviously includes the fire, earth, air, water bit with the avatars in it. I'm going to stop speaking now in a moment, and then when I start speaking again after that pause, that's when you hit play, and that's when you'll be synced up with my commentary track. So I'm going to stop speaking now. Okay, so here is the opening for K211, Night of 1,000 Stars, 11th episode of Book 2 Spirits, and also the first of basically what was our four-part finale to Book 2 Spirits. We got two two-parters to end things off, and this was basically the first of them. This one's probably the most displaced from the finale in that really the finale is harmonic convergence onwards, but this one has that kind of finale feel in terms of wrapping up some sections of the story, but some really interesting stuff goes on in this episode. Bolin, I suppose, is what people remember most about this episode, but I think Mako gets his moment here, just like Bolin, and there's just some other good stuff as well. But yep, we've returned here to the Southern Air Temple, I believe, and obviously they've returned without Janora. Well, they have her body, but her spirit has yet to return to her body after the events of last episode. And really sad opening with getting to see Pema's reaction to this, and not just Pema, but like Janora's sister and brother's reaction, Milo and Iki. But pretty tragic. And again, as I said at the end of the last episode, I like that Tenzin's not like really angry and blaming Korra, but they're very apologetic and very sad about it, and they're going to try and get her back. And it presents Tenzin with an interesting story as well. It's not just Korra needs to get her back, but Tenzin's also going to try and do that as well. So I like that. And then we get Bolin visiting his brother in prison. And this is the scene that really shows how far the two have come since the start of this book. At the start, Mako knew exactly where he wanted to be. He was a police officer, knew exactly what he's doing. Everything was going right for him, while Bolin didn't really know what he wanted to do with his life and was kind of struggling about what to do. And Bolin was kind of left out a bit by Mako. And now, look at this situation. Mako's in prison. He's kind of apparently lost his job. Bolin's now a big movie star, and he comes in to visit his brother using some of his important time. And definitely it comes across a little bit like the movie stardom has come to his head, but there's definitely a sense of, he really cares that his brother is in prison, and but he still thinks that Mako's kind of done something wrong here. It's interesting interaction between the two. Bolin's not quite smart enough to realize that he actually figured it out, and it's not just an insanity defense. Makes for a nice start to the episode with regards to what happens like in the end when Bolin's the one ultimately to figure it out. Important line there that the reason Asami hasn't come to visit Mako is because someone being in prison close to her reminds her of the fact that her father's in prison and everything that happened there, and seeing Mako there is probably a really sad thing for her to see. And Mako just warns Bolin to be careful, which ultimately he is. He does kind of take his brother's advice to some extent, which is nice. And then we finally return to the idea that there's a civil war going on. It just about works, I think, that they took a huge break and that we knew Tonrock was never going to be the mainest of main characters here, and they did present it that, okay, that they're going to wait for their moment to strike, and obviously Unalaq's busy in the spirit world doing stuff, and so they see their chance with some of the big guys away right here in the south, and the attack begins. I like that they finally did return to it. It was important that we got some sort of resolution, and as obviously the setup has been for Unalaq versus Tonrock, Battle of the Brothers, since the first episode, basically. And I like the way that Shiro Shinobi's just the general announcer for things. He's the red carpet interviewer kind of announcer, as well as the probe ending announcer as well. And everyone thinks that they're a couple in real life too, because obviously this is the first movers thing that's ever come out. So if they see a romance on screen, they naturally assume that it's would be off screen as well, because the idea of seeing a story like this is something they haven't really seen outside of maybe like plays like The Emperor Island Players. So that's interesting. We see Lin again, and here's the return of President Raiko. And then I just found it hilarious that his wife is called Buttercup Raiko. That's just hilarious to me that her name's Buttercup. And then obviously typical Varric is the one to butter the two of them up, and obviously he's going to use this kind of Nuktuk season finale to really get Raiko on his side, which is going to be really important here. He even gives a speech. He's going to give a speech before this to really exert some political influence here. He has the audience on his side because he's the one behind these movers, and through the basically support that the South is going to get from this movie, he is going to use that against the president. And Raiko knows what's happening, but obviously is not really sure what to do here. And again, you're still not like, he's not being completely villainous here, Barry. He's done some bad stuff already, but nothing that makes you just go, he is a villain on the same level as Unalaq, because he's just kind of maneuvering himself into a position. And it's an important speech here because he really gets the people thinking about that not only like is this just a movie, like it's a story, but that it will apply to the real life situation. That he's like hinting at them, like listen to what's being said here, make a difference once you've seen this, and so he's really kind of planting these seeds in people's heads, and then I just love that we do get to see more of the whole Nuktuk Hero of the South actual story here. Really wish they would release the whole thing as some sort of a web comic or something like that, because I'd love to see what the full story is, because it's that classic kind of old style thing of the giant walrus is the thing that gives him the advice he needs. A kind of funny reference, I suppose, to maybe like the lion turtle with Aang last book, and then have a guy who looks identical to Raiko here. And they use the Raiko in the mover to support Varric's basically goals in real life perfectly. So it puts pressure on the real life Raiko to do the same, and you just realize that he's got me here basically. So that's an important thing. And that's a nice kind of serious delivery there from PJ Byrne. He's usually best noted for like the funny delivery, but it's a nice serious delivery there on the whole. I wish Mako was here. Even though he was kind of joking a bit with Mako while he was in prison, he does actually wish that his brother could be here to see kind of his biggest moment. Just the kind of sickening way the two of them are eating those Varric cakes. It's just hilarious and just makes you really hate the guys. Just like, wow, that's a messy eater. They're kind of just watching them eat in the background, and then they just realize, oh, we are dead. Our cake drops. Blood has been spilled this evening. They use mecha tanks in the film. That's a nice, just showing the reference between, I suppose, Varric Industries and Future Industries. That's why they're used in the play. Naga has a starring role here as well. Laser beam eyes, just amazing. And then we get one of the saddest moments in the whole show, Nuktuk Hero of the South here, with Juji dead. They just make it so dramatic. It's brilliant. Nook no. It's just so over the top, but it's actually hilarious and brilliant. The way they had to shoot it because Pabu wouldn't do the right thing is great. I got to be your friend. Die. And just go from licking finger to dead cut. It's just really well done. And even the tail moved after the death, though. It's really nice. And I like the way Sammy comes out just like thinking that he's kind of Bolin's become a bit overawed with the emotion of the movie, but it's more about the fact that Mako's not here, also Korra's not there, and all of this other stuff. That he wishes the group could be together. That he really works well in that group. He likes having them all together. You know, as much as he's enjoyed like the fact that he's become successful by himself, that's led to him kind of separating himself a bit from his friends. He wishes Team Avatar could be back together again. And it is the sense of like he still has a little bit of development even to go from this point in that he thinks he needs his friends to do anything more or less. Even though he's successful, he still thinks he really needs his friends and Team Avatar to do anything serious of note. But he gets his big moment here where, he spots, the boat and like knows that there's some people here who aren't meant to be, who snuck into the arena, and knows, and he to some extent he does remember what Mako said, and so is very on edge, especially when he finds the two detectives in here, and he's on edge knowing what's about to happen. And because of the development that he went through in book one, actually becoming brave and learning how to really fight people in real life outside of pro bending and stuff like that, that's what really allows Bolin to have this moment. So it is a kind of culmination of all of his development over the whole two books kind of coming together here in this moment where he just has that huge moment that you've been waiting for. Raiko and Buttercup are captured, and then what's perfect about this scene is that it lines up exactly with what's going on screen, and so there's a nice symbolism there that he's not just like a hero on screen, he's a hero in real life too, and that's what really gets the whole city on his side, that he's an actor and he can do it in real life too, and he's a pro bender. He's just has a bit of everything. Just the epic thing, ripping their sleeves off, and then just one against three, and it's perfect that there's the kind of bookmarks on his journey in this book, that he starts the book failing in the pro bending arena, ends it a complete success from everyone in the pro bending arena. There's a lot of great stuff kind of leading up to this moment for Bolin. It's a really good fight scene as well. Some amazing moves that aren't quite illegal in an actual pro bending match, but it's works well in real life. And Ginger starts to actually fall for Bolin when she begins to realize how actually like Toki is. It's just has a little bit of everything, this scene, and that's what I like about it. Shiro Shinobi starts to commentate as well on it, which he's so great. He's just in the audience and he starts to commentate. And he's just taking them out pro bending style, and they have they're not used to battling in a pro bending arena like this, and he has a lot of experience, and it's just working well. Nuktuk's winning on screen, Bolin's winning in real life. And then he gets the reveal that Varric is behind everything. Mako's been right all along. He's announced it in front of everyone, and Varric has now been caught. It's a fitting conclusion to, I think, this plot. The only thing that I think the thing missed would be some resolution with the Sami with regards to what happens to her company. Which I just assume that with Varric out of the picture, that means she takes control of Varric Industries as well as Future Industries. or something like that. I'm not sure because they are business partners and he's meant to be in jail now. But what a great moment for Bolin. Cheered by everyone, not just for his acting skills, but just for being a real life hero as well, and that's cool. Here we get the confrontation, Unalaq versus Tonrock, that we've kind of been waiting for a long time. The whole backstory, he's found out that Unalaq's been the one who had him banished all along, and there's a big build up to it, so I really was excited to see what happened. And here's Mako finally getting his kind of redemption. Everyone understanding that Mako knew this all along. Lin saying he's one of the best. And then Bolin completely confused that Ginger actually likes him now just because he's an actual real life hero. And he's just so confused about what to do. And the Sammy just telling him all this stuff while he's too busy kissing his Sam. It's fitting. But here comes Korra back with everyone, and this is a key point here with Raiko. Just he won't make a decision. He tells him he wants to destroy the whole world, and he still really doesn't do anything here. He says spiritual apocalypse of the world basically, and he goes, "I need you to help us take him out," basically. And Raiko still doesn't make that decision. He just we'll have to protect my own city. When ultimately his decision basically gets his city attacked because using the strength of the United Forces to get everyone to the portal quicker would have meant that they had so much time, and basically Korra would have been able to stop things before harmonic convergence happened, more or less, and stop these little things happening. And basically, he is kind of responsible for what happened in the end to his city and making this indecision. And I just think going into book 3, he really needs this moment where he apologizes to Korra for just not believing her at all, not giving her any respect, and just making the wrong decisions. To some extent, his presidency should come up for office. Basically, someone else should potentially want to be president over how we handle this whole thing. But we'll see where Raiko goes as a character. And finally, the two brothers have their big moment. Mako's freed, he was right. Bolin saved the day. The two characters who people have thought have been underdeveloped get their big moment, and it's so well done. Mako gets the praise that he deserves. And he's promoted to detective while the other two are demoted, potentially fired. And that's a big moment for Mako. He's kind of found out to be right all along. And really, that moment is kind of really taken away from by just the writing about so much romance behind this whole thing. Because he has a big moment and then suddenly it reverts back to the romance stuff, who's he going out with now? And then there's the whole thing set up here of Korra forgets that they broke up. She hasn't quite remembered it yet, and so she's where she's still Mako's girlfriend, and she doesn't remember that, and Asami's mad. Ultimately, nothing really comes of it too much. Asami's a little bit angry, but it's more that why aren't you telling her that you broke up? And eventually happens at the end, but there's really a scene I feel missing in this romance plot where they both realize Korra remembers what's happened, and they just have a moment where they just show that maybe they don't work as a couple, because it really just goes from we broke up this one time, I remember everything now, let's break up for real this time, and without a moment to really show you why they really broke up, because it was really based on that heat of the moment, the initial breakup. And then, just Julie follows him everywhere in the platypus bear costume, She follows him into prison as well. She's fine with just living in there, but he does have a nice prison cell. He has a lot of pull in the prison system. And then this line is just great. He has helped pretty much everyone except Mako. As much as he's done all these bad things, he's done a good things for everyone except Mako, and he's willing to do something else to help them because he's not out to destroy the world or anything like that. He was just out to get like more power in the city, more or less, and kidnap people and stuff like this. But we assume he didn't like hurt anyone really. And he has a battleship called the Julie. And it really makes you want to know, like, where did Varric find Julie? There's some story there to this relationship that's really interesting. And again, he does this kind of thing where like he ultimately wants, I suppose, what's good for the world, but I suppose it's mainly for himself, so he could then gain more power in the world once the balance is restored. And Team Avatar's back, the group's back together, but there's still some drama, obviously, around the place with regards to the whole romance stuff going on. And you see, they're back kind of like working well as a couple here. Like, I get it's because he hasn't told her about the breakup yet, but it it's the fact that really their relationship, they don't show how the individual development of both Korra and Mako has affected their relationship really. I feel like they broke up because they had some development to do themselves. And then when they finally do develop themselves, they just confirm the breakup again when I think it was more important to like maybe have to get back together. But I assume the Mako and Korra relationship is canon in the end. But here's the big fight we've kind of been waiting for for ages. It is a bit short ultimately, and I think the interference of Eska and Desna kind of really limits what it is as a fight, but there's some nice emotion to it, definitely. And he says, you're not my brother anymore because of everything you've done. And there's some really powerful moves here, like there's a lot of emotion to it. But ultimately, it is a really kind of short fight, and I definitely think the Bolin fight overall is a better one. Because really, it's kind of one-sided. The fight is kind of very much one-sided. Unlocks in complete control. Admittedly, that does him wonders in terms of like really setting him up as a good villain, and that like he is so good at waterbending that he can rival Korra, who has all four elements in battle. So it really does a good job of getting him over as a strong fighter. It's kind of at the expense of this fight itself a little bit, in that Tonrak really comes across quite badly at the end of this fight, which I suppose is helped by the fact that Eska and Desna interfered, which kind of put him at a disadvantage going in. But either way, kind of tragic moment here where it's almost like this fatal blow that he just deals to his brother. Like, given how bad Tonrak looks after this fight, this was serious damage done here. Lots of cuts, bruises, potentially broken bones, and just leaves his brother knocked out completely. So that's the episode commentary for Night of a Thousand Stars. Tomorrow I'll put up the episode commentary for Harmonic Convergence, and then sometime next week I'll get out the final two episodes, Darkness Falls and Light in the Dark. So really coming towards the end here. Only three of these commentaries left. Always enjoy doing them, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for listening, and bye.